Okay, let's really get into this. So picture this. A guy floating in a spacesuit, 24 miles up. Seriously, 24 miles above the Earth.
Yeah.
Blackness of space right there.
Just hanging there. Incredible.
Right. And he's about to jump, not for science, not really for exploration, but to sell an energy drink.
It sounds absolutely bonkers when you put it like that.
It does. $50 million. That's what Red Bull poured into this single event back in 2012. Pure madness, you'd think.
But it wasn't just madness, was it? The Stratos mission, I mean, it was calculated, something that completely changed the game for their brand and maybe marketing in general.
Exactly. That $50 million price tag alone makes you stop and think, right, what leads a company to do that? To have a man basically fall from space.
Yeah, what were they hoping to get that, a normal ad campaign couldn't deliver? It really pushes the boundaries of what we even consider advertising.
Absolutely. So whether you're someone fascinated by, like, human limits, or maybe you're into the business side, wondering about that kind of spend.
Or maybe you just love a genuinely jaw-dropping story.
Precisely. We're going to unpack this whole thing today. Not just the spectacle, the jump itself, but the why. Why did this incredibly audacious gamble pay off so spectacularly?
And to really get that, we probably need to go back even further, right? To how Red Bull even started, because that's a pretty wild story, too.
Oh, totally. It starts with this Austrian guy, Dietrich Mateschitz. He's a toothpaste salesman, of all things.
Right. I remember this part. Traveling in Thailand, 1987.
And he's got a killer hangover. Happens to the best of us. But he stumbles upon this local drink, Krating Dang.
Which was basically this syrupy, super caffeinated tonic, really popular with Thai truck drivers, wasn't it? To stay awake on long hauls.
Yeah, think coffee, but like coffee that punches you in the face and yells, "Let's go!"
Huh. That's a good way to put it. A serious jolt.
Definitely. But Mateschitz, he sees more than just a hangover cure or a trucker's friend. He spots potential.
He thinks, hey, maybe people in the West could use this kind of kick.
Exactly. So he partners up with a guy who made Krating Tang, Chileo Uvidya. They tweaked the formula a bit.
The big change was adding carbonation, making it more palatable for, Western tastes.
And designing that can, that iconic silver and blue can we all know now.
But back then, late 80s, energy drinks weren't really a thing, were they?
Not at all. It was a completely new category in the West. Trying to sell, it must have been like, I don't know, trying to sell bottled water when everyone just drank from the tap. It seems obvious now, but back then.
Yeah, a tough sell. They weren't like Coke or Pepsi with huge ad budgets. They had to create the market and the demand.
So they got creative. Really creative, actually. They basically pioneered what we now call guerrilla marketing.
Ah, yes, the Red Bull girls.
The legendary Red Bull girls.
Yeah.
Driving around in those branded minis, usually, handing out free samples on college campuses at events.
Creating that buzz. And didn't they also, leave empty cans outside nightclubs?
They did. Just strategically placed empty cans, making it look like everyone inside was drinking Red Bull. It was a clever, low-budget stuff that generated curiosity.
Pure guerrilla tactics. And then, moving into the 2000s, the strategy shifted again, didn't it? They started becoming more of a lifestyle brand.
Totally. They started heavily investing in extreme sports. Cliff diving, BMX, snowboarding, Formula One later on.
All these things that scream high energy, risk, pushing limits.
And that's when the slogan, Red Bull gives you wings, started to feel less like just a catchy phrase.
And more like, an actual brand promise, almost, tied to these incredible feats. They weren't just selling the drink anymore.
They were selling the feeling, the association with adrenaline, with achieving something extraordinary.
Which brings us, logically, if extremely, to 2012.
Right. By 2012, Red Bull is huge, but the energy drink market, it's getting crowded.
Oh, yeah. You've got Monster, Rockstar, lots of competitors nipping at their heels, going after that same young, adventurous demographic.
So Red Bull needed something seismic, something absolutely unforgettable to just blow everyone else out of the water and cement their dominance.
They couldn't just sponsor another event. They needed to own the conversation globally.
And that's where Stratos comes in. That's the why behind the $50 million. It wasn't just an ad spend. It was a statement.
A massive, calculated gamble aimed squarely at their core audience, those 18 to 35-year-olds who crave excitement, adventure, the extreme.
All their previous marketing, the motocross, the wingsuit flying, it kind of all led up to this, didn't it? Stratos was the ultimate expression of Red Bull gives you wings.
The most literal, most extreme interpretation imaginable. The goal wasn't just sales, it was global attention. Headlines, viral videos, water cooler talk everywhere.
They wanted everyone talking about Red Bull. And to pull off something this big, you need a very specific kind of person at the center of it all.
Enter Felix Baumgartner.
Fearless Felix. I mean, the nickname says it all, right?
Definitely. He wasn't just some random volunteer. He was Austrian, like Mateschitz, and a highly accomplished skydiver and base jumper.
Yeah, this guy had jumped off Christ the Redeemer in Rio, the Petronas Towers in Kuala Lumpur. He even flew across the English Channel using a carbon fiber wing. He lived for this stuff.
He had the track record, the credibility, and presumably the nerve. For him, Stratos was the ultimate challenge, wasn't it? His personal Everest.
Absolutely is Everest. And the plan itself, I mean, just think about it. Float up to 128,100 feet, nearly 24 miles, in a giant helium balloon.
Higher than any plane flies, basically in the blackness of space.
Then step out of a capsule. Just
Yeah.
step out and free fall, aiming to break the sound barrier with your own body.
Protected only by a pressurized suit. The technical challenges alone must have been immense.
Colossal. Red Bull put together this huge team, like 300 people. Engineers, scientists, doctors, technicians, the works.
Developing that suit must have been a huge undertaking. Keeping him alive at that altitude, the cold, the lack of pressure.
Totally custom. And the capsule itself, it looked like something NASA would build. This wasn't a weekend project.
How long did they say it took? The planning?
7 years. 7 years of planning, development, testing. It shows the level of commitment, right? This was serious business.
Absolutely. Mitigating the enormous risks involved as much as humanly possible. Which brings us to the day itself, October 14th, 2012.
Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Which is kind of perfect, isn't it? The
Yeah.
whole alien Area 51 vibe. It just adds to the strangeness and wonder of it all.
And the anticipation by then was huge. Red Bull had been running this brilliant social media campaign for months.
Yeah, dedicated website, Twitter updates, everything building towards the launch.
Yeah.
And crucially, the YouTube live stream.
Which was still kind of a novelty back then, streaming something like this live globally.
Right, but there was drama first, wasn't there? The weather.
Yeah, high winds caused delays, which could have killed the buzz, but somehow, maybe it even heightened the tension.
I think it did. Because when it finally happened, when he got the green light,
Yeah.
the world was watching. Like, literally.
What were the numbers on that live stream? It was record-breaking, wasn't it?
8 million people simultaneously watching on YouTube. That's like
Yeah.
more than the population of New York City. All tuned in to see one guy jump.
Unbelievable. Just imagine the pressure on him, on the team.
So he goes up this tiny capsule under this enormous balloon, getting smaller and smaller against the blue than black sky. He gets to altitude, opens the hatch,
Stands out on that little step.
looks down at the earth,
Yeah.
and says those words, "I'm going home now."
Chills. Just absolute chills hearing that.
And then he jumps, steps off into the void.
And that free fall. It wasn't short. 4 minutes and 19 seconds.
Falling and getting faster and faster. He hit, what was it, Mach 1.25.
833.9 miles per hour, faster than the speed of sound, the first human to do it in free fall without a vehicle.
Just unbelievable. The sonic boom must have happened up there, unheard by us.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time, the world is just holding its breath.
Social media just exploded, right? Twitter was apparently just a blur of people freaking out, amazed, terrified for him.
Totally. And then finally, the parachute opens. He guides himself down.
And lands safely back on Earth. The relief must have been immense.
Oh, globally. Cheers, celebrations. Red Bull had done it. They'd pulled off the impossible.
And the payoff started immediately. Not just the relief, but the records.
Yeah, 3 world records tumbled. Highest jump, fastest free fall, longest free fall distance. Bragging rights secured.
But the marketing impact, that was the real story.
Oh, yeah. The internet metrics were insane. 3.1 million tweets about it that day. It accounted for like 1% of all online conversations. Think about that.
The YouTube replay got viewed, 50 million times pretty quickly?
Easily. It was everywhere. And then the sales figures started coming in. Remember, the mission cost about $50 million.
A huge sum, but the returns.
In the 6 months after the jump, U.S. sales jumped 7%. That's $1.6 billion. Globally, up 13% to $5.2 billion. Big numbers.
But the estimated value was even crazier, wasn't it? The media exposure, the brand value boost.
Some estimates put it at $6 billion. Billion with a B.
Which gives you that insane ROI number, 120 times the initial investment.
It's almost unbelievable. Most marketing campaigns, you're happy if you get, like, double your money back, right?
Exactly. 2x is considered pretty good. 120x is legendary status. And the key was they didn't do it by plastering logos everywhere during the jump itself.
No. It wasn't about a hard sell. It was about the story. This incredible human achievement, this act of bravery, this pushing of limits. And Red Bull was the brand that made it happen.
They associated themselves indelibly with courage and adventure. You have to feel a bit sorry for the marketing folks at Monster or Rockstar watching this unfold. Like, how do you even compete with that?
Right. What's your response? A bigger logo on a motocross bike. It just didn't compare.
And the virality. It tapped into something deep, didn't it? Humans are just fascinated by spectacle, by daredevils.
Totally. It's like watching a tightrope walker, but amplified by a million. And Red Bull nailed this idea of dramatic demonstration.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, their slogan is, gives you wings. What better way to demonstrate that dramatically than by literally sending a man towards space and having him fly back?
Ah, okay. Proving the promise through action, not just words.
Exactly. And the timing with social media, YouTube live streaming being newish, it was perfect. They got billions of media impressions, news coverage everywhere for free, basically.
And the memes. Can't forget the memes.
Red Bull gives you wings, but Felix Baumgartner gives you chills. That one captured it perfectly, didn't it? That mix of awe and terror.
It really did, and it shows they understood their audience, not just demographics, but psychographics.
Yeah, they knew they were talking to people who are ambitious, maybe a bit rebellious, who want to feel like they can break boundaries. The jump screamed, "Be bold, break rules, live epic."
And by doing that, they weren't just selling a sugary drink anymore. They were selling an identity, a mindset,
Wow.
and that builds serious loyalty.
And like we said, Stratos wasn't just out of the blue. It was the peak, maybe, but built on years of similar, if smaller scale, stunts.
Robbie Madison jumping his motorbike onto the Arc de Triomphe in Vegas. Aaron Chase biking down a volcano.
Yeah, they'd been building this extreme image for years. Stratos just took it to a whole other level. It set a new benchmark, really.
And they haven't stopped, have they? They keep doing these incredible visual stunts.
The guy flying a plane through a tunnel in 2021, hauling an F1 car around Chicago on a train. They keep finding ways to generate that wow factor.
Plus, their whole media house operation now. Red Bull TV, the YouTube channel. Churning out high-quality content focused on adventure, passion, stories, not just ads.
It's a long game strategy. But we should acknowledge the risks too, right?
Absolutely. The physical danger to the athletes is immense. And imagine the PR disaster if Stratos had gone wrong, if
Right.
Felix hadn't made it.
Unthinkable. The narrative would have flipped instantly.
Yeah.
And there was criticism about the cost too, the $50 million.
People asking, couldn't that money have been used for something else? Which is a fair question, I suppose.
It is. And Red Bull itself hasn't been without controversy either, has it? The dark side of wings, you might say.
Yeah, there was that big lawsuit in 2014, wasn't there, about the gives you wings slogan not being literally true.
Right. They ended up settling for like $13 million, offering refunds or free products.
Oh.
Bit awkward.
And then there are the ongoing health discussions, the caffeine, the sugar, concerns about marketing these high-energy drinks, especially to younger people.
Which they seem to be aware of. They've diversified, haven't they? Organic sodas, even wine spritzers now.
And their involvement in things beyond sports, like music festivals, art shows. It's part of that strategy to be, well, everywhere, unforgettable.
So wrapping this all up, what are the big lessons here from the Stratos jump?
I think, number one, know your audience deeply. Understand what drives them, what excites them, what they aspire to. Red Bull nailed that.
Yeah. And number two, sell a story, not just a product. Tap into emotions, create a narrative people can connect with. Stratos was pure storytelling.
And third, don't be afraid to take calculated risks. Calculated being the key word. It wasn't reckless, it was audacious, but meticulously planned. That kind of boldness can have incredible payoffs.
And maybe for us, just watching. It's a reminder, isn't it, to maybe dream a bit bigger, push our own limits, whatever they might be.
Yeah, even if we're not literally jumping from space, it's about that mindset that Red Bull managed to capture, chasing thrills, being fearless, being creative.
It's amazing that even now, 13 years later, Stratos is still talked about, still studied in marketing classes, still feels epic.
It really does. Felix Baumgartner became a legend overnight. Red Bull cemented itself as this absolute titan. What are their numbers now? Over $20 billion valuation?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And selling 11.5 billion cans a year? That's a lot of energy drink. Enough to fill 2 Olympic swimming pools, apparently.
Wow. And Felix, he's retired from skydiving, I believe, but still famous for that one incredible day.
Yeah. It was just this perfect storm, wasn't it? The right athlete, the right brand with the right vision, and a world that was ready, maybe even hungry, for a bit of genuine wonder.
A truly unique moment in time.
So as we finish this deep dive, it's pretty clear. Red Bull Stratos, Way more than a stunt. It was a masterclass in building a brand through sheer audacity, amazing storytelling, and really getting your audience.
That return on investment is still just mind-boggling, and the cultural footprint it left is undeniable.
So here's something to chew on as we wrap up. Think about your own world, your own goals, maybe in your job, or just your life. What feels impossible right now?
And what kind of bold, maybe unconventional approach might actually get you there? Could there be a sort of Stratos jump equivalent waiting for you to figure out?
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us into this absolutely incredible story.